Hello there, and welcome to another episode of Up and In on this beautiful Sunday evening. I am, as always, Alex I Black Elmore. With me is my main man, Chris Hackney. Hack, I know you've had a busy life happen this weekend for you. How has it been? What's going on? What's new in your life?
Great week, great week. I introduced the world to my daughter this week. Little baby Sadie was born on Wednesday. So it's been a crazy week over here. But now it's Sunday night. Relaxed and ready to talk some baseball today.
Heck yeah, man. I'm excited. Another great week of baseball. Some big movers, some big losers, some big trades, a couple injuries to talk about. You were mentioning before we came on live that there was a rookie that started this week that you wanted to call out and give some love to. Who was that you were speaking about?
The Mets brought up. I just had his name on the tip of my tongue. I think it's Christopher Scott. Uh, he came in, debuted. There was a lot of hype around him. He handled the moment. He had a great start for them last night. It's looking like he might be able to hang on in there and hold on to the fifth, maybe even the fourth start. So we'll see how the next start goes, but it was a good debut for him. Still waiting for that Skeens debut. All these young pitchers getting called up, and we're still waiting on him.
Yeah, the main pitcher that we're all kind of waiting on is still kind of just waiting in the wings, waiting to have his moment. He again pitched a great outing this morning. He had a showing against Alex Manoah earlier in the week, where Alex Manoah actually had a good showing. Didn't turn out so well for him today. When he made his major league debut this season against the Nationals. That's the third pitcher to start against the Nationals this season. I would start to take that offensively if I was the Nationals getting all these first time starts, thinking that their lineup is a cakewalk. But a lot of interesting things happened this week. I mean, the Mets and Braves both took no hitters into the eighth inning earlier in the week, and they both ended up losing. Both ended up losing actually on 2-run home runs in the ninth. Really funny how that happened on the same exact day. A couple injury notifications. One of the really funny stats I saw from the week is that the Dodgers this week they won 8-4 over the Diamondbacks. They had 42 plate appearances, 0 strikeouts. That's absolutely crazy to me. 42 plate appearances, no strikeouts. That kind of says a lot about the Dodgers lineup, don't you think?
Yeah, you don't really see that anymore in baseball. That's a crazy number of plate appearances for no strikeouts.
I would definitely agree.
And the Dodgers of all teams, because they have a Max Muncy in that lineup. Their top three are really great professional hitters. Top four, even Will Smith, I'll add in that category. But after that, they have a lot of the modern day swing for ding type hitters. So it's very impressive. And that's against the Diamondbacks, who don't have a bad pitching staff.
No, you're absolutely right. They absolutely do not. We have so much to talk about, Hack, today that I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to jump on some topics. The first topic I kind of want to talk about today is honestly something that probably players, fans, and I'm certainly excited about, is that they're already talking about retiring the new jerseys. They say that it will not happen before the end of the season, but for next season, they're trying to go back to the old style. I mean, we've had so much drama from Bryce Harper wearing last year's jerseys during a game, from pants tearing left and right. The New York Yankees pitcher on the top there, you can see Carlos Rodon. You can perfectly see all of the sweat marks on his jersey. Like I said, ripping, totally see-through. The fans' complaints is that the numbers and the lettering is smaller. Hack, are you happy about the possibility of them switching back sooner than later to the old style of jersey?
I mean, as a conspiracy theorist, see this one coming. The day they showed these uniforms, no one was happy. And if you have an old MLB uniform sitting at home and you were unfortunate enough to buy one of these, it's side by side, and it looks like the MLB, the old ones look official and the new ones look like a Temu type of jersey. And that's I know that they're trying to lay blame, I believe, at the feet of Nike. And I'm sorry, like, somebody saw this. Fanatics, someone had to have seen this jersey before you sent it out, and there's no way that you thought this was going to work. Now, that being said, there's a whole bunch of jerseys that people are never going to wear again, but they made their money. So as of these decisions, it sucks for us as a fan, but I'm glad they're fixing it because players, it's embarrassing. Like rip pants, sweat stain. You have guys refusing to wear your jersey. That's embarrassing for the manufacturer.
I mean, yeah, I think I had better quality jerseys in high school than some of the stuff that they're putting on the field today. But you're absolutely right, Hack. The union has completely absolved Fanatics from any wrongdoing, who's the manufacturer, of course, and they place sole responsibility on the shoulders of Nike, which I think is the right move to do. I think it's a bold statement, but I think it's the right move to do. Like I said, Fanatics and MLB have had a long-running relationship together. But I'm happy to see some change. Hopefully, like I said, sooner rather than later. They're saying hopefully by the start of the 2025 season.
I don't want to sidetrack this convo because I can go off on a tangent on this one a little bit. But Fanatics, I don't remember. I know I was probably alive because of my age for when Nike took over sports and became like the official. Hockey pretty much gets left alone, but basketball, football, baseball was Nike when I was a kid. Even if they weren't the official sponsor, that's who you wanted. Well, Fanatics in the last couple of years with the deals they're making, whether it be signing kids in college that are affecting NFL deals now, or whether it's this baseball partnership, I know I blame them, but maybe the union absolving them is reminiscent of when Nike first took over, and we're just not used to seeing a shift like this in our sports because Nike has run it. Sports has been run on Nike and Gatorade for the last 20 to 30 years. And it's going to be weird when, Fanatics takes over. And there's no drink to take over Gatorade right now. But one day maybe we're hearing Prime sponsored baseball games. It's different.
I hope not.
And we just might have to adjust to some of these differences.
No, I totally agree with you. Like I said, there's going to be some changes, but I just want to see these changes for the better, not for the worse. I saw another, I think it was an early design of they're trying to make a baseball cap without the brim. So it's kind of like a hat beanie. It's like don't reinvent the wheel. Like why would you do that? That doesn't make no sense. So like I said, there are some changes I accept. Changes like this, not so much. When high schoolers are wearing better quality uniforms than the pros, we got ourselves a problem. But like you said, we can kind of dive down a rabbit hole with this. We're not going to get too far off base. We're going to keep the subjects rolling. And up next, we have earlier this week, the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks had a game postponed. I believe it was like almost 2 hours while they waited for a pest control to come out and take care of what looked like thousands of bees that were on the post behind home plate. A gentleman did come out. He was able to essentially vacuum the bees out. Then he was able to even throw out the first game. He got a standing ovation. It was super cool. Made the guy feel really special. I doubt he woke up the other morning saying, "Oh, I bet I'm going to go to the Diamondbacks game tonight to work and get to throw out the first pitch." I think that's pretty cool. Did you get to see the highlights of the guy and how excited he was?
I did. And great story. Good feel-good story. It's nice to see. I'm glad as an animal enthusiast, I'm glad that they removed the bees in a humane way. Just a win. It's nice to see the average guy get, because that could be any one of us,
True.
No disrespect to the man, but there's nothing special. Just a regular guy that was the hero for the day for however many fans were in the ballpark that day. And for probably the next couple of weeks, he's the bee guy in Arizona. You're the bee guy. So enjoy it. Get yourself a couple free drinks, a couple free meals. Do a couple interviews. I'm all for a good feel-good story. We don't get enough of those.
Absolutely. Get your 15 minutes. Hopefully it's his own business, and his business just goes through the roof from the publicity. But that's just a fun little story I want to throw out there. Like I said, the average man, he gets his 15 minutes of fame for doing a job that he does every single day. So that's pretty awesome. We're going to keep this ball rolling. We got some pretty intense subjects to talk about today, including pitcher injuries and the future of baseball. But here, right now, we're just going to give a brief talk about the current leaders in the West, Central, and East divisions. Heck, is there any surprises here that kind of jump out at you?
Yeah, the biggest surprise to me is the Brewers. That most people in the beginning of the season with the moves made We'll just forget about Burns losing the manager and seeming to be like the guy that always found a way to win for them. And they let Council leave. Then the Burns move, the Woodruff, the Williams injuries, that they just keep rolling. Yelich is having a bounce back year. Terang and Adams is having a good year. I'm gonna be a homer here. Reese went over there and injected a little fire into that clubhouse, and whatever they're doing in Milwaukee's working right now. And fortunately for them, that division, the Cardinals look. We're gonna talk about the Reds later in this show, and the Pirates have fell. We'll see what the Pirates do when they call people up, but right now, it seems like they're clearing the way for Milwaukee to kind of take the division and have a feel-good story.
And in case you folks didn't pick that up, Hack is a very, very adamant about getting Paul Skeens up to the show, get him on that Pirates roster so that he can make an impact. He's tired of seeing other pitchers get brought up and him kind of get glossed over. Hack, you are right. The Brewers, they're definitely a team that I thought would have some digression this year. That's kind of really came out of the gate swinging and really kind of been very consistent over the first month of the season. For me, the team that's the most surprising is the Seattle Mariners. Mariners fans haven't had this much to be excited about in a long time. Team ERA is under 3. 2.95 as a team ERA. Starting pitching is fantastic. Relief pitching is there. Closing pitching, they're not blowing games. Offense hasn't even woken up yet. So once that happens, this Mariners team is going to be scary out west. So that's a team that it's definitely one to keep an eye out for. Hopefully their bats can wake up because, like you said, pitching will get you through some of the tough parts of your schedule, but you need the offense to carry you through to the finish line. So hopefully they can kind of turn that around here soon. Any other teams you kind of want to touch on before we kind of move on from this topic?
I'll touch on the Phillies. As a fan of the Phillies, people in the fandom, we're not used to them starting off this way. The pitching staff has been, you're talking about Seattle. This is Philly. Our offense is a little bit hotter than the Mariners' offense, but it's just been I don't think even of the Phillies didn't have them leading the division on Cinco de Mayo. I had the Braves, by a couple games winning the division. So I'm surprised by that.
I mean, man, the Mariners have scored 124 runs, which is the 4th fewest amount of runs this season by any team, and they're leading the division. So that kind of says everything you need to know about that team. So a lot to be excited about, especially with bats like Rodriguez in there that really haven't even started to kind of produce yet. Yeah. Something to be excited about. And will they be sellers or buyers at the trade deadline? Like I said, pitching, they're set, but they may move. They may look to make a move to get some sort of offense going. So we'll kind of see and we'll kind of follow it along as the storyline continues. Like I said, we're on a mission. We're getting through the show today. Going on to the next topic of conversation is kind of injuries. We kind of like to touch base on these. The main thing we want to talk about, obviously, today is the huge loss of Mike Trout to the Angels, getting knee surgery. It's not supposed to end his season, but it's a shame to see him have such a hot start to the season, really showing people that he's still Mike Trout, only to be sidelined again by injury. Hack, you got to feel for this guy, right? I mean, he's a Philadelphia native. He loves the Eagles. He's a huge Philadelphia sports fan. You got to feel for the guy. So talk to me about what you're feeling for Mike Trout right now.
It's a tragedy. It happens every year. So I think at some point it's just what we have to get used to with him. And I think that harkens back. I don't want to gloss over his injury, but this is one of the reasons why a lot of people, myself included, think his career, although a Hall of Fame, one of the greatest players I've ever seen with my eyes play this game, it's been squandered in the Angels. You every year do too much. Every year you're hurt because I don't want to say that's the only reason, but from an outsider looking in, every year other than the 4 years you were told to put this team on your back, and every year he collapses under the weight. It'd be nice to see if we're going to talk about one of these players later, but if we get him on like a Kershaw type of schedule where We just need you to get enough at bats during the year to be ready for the postseason, and then let's show the world what Mike Trout is. And it's sad that there's a generation of kids now that just think Mike Trout is a good player that always is injured, and they don't understand how great his career truly was, because he's that guy that's injured every June, July, and now earlier.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It's a shame to see Mike Trout, at this point of his career. Like I said, you want to see him successful. You want to see him be able to carry the Angels on his back. Obviously, in baseball, that's harder to do than in any other sport, I would say. As a quarterback, it's easy to lead your team because you distribute the ball. In basketball, you're one of five guys. Again, you can kind of control more of the aspect. But as a baseball player, you got 9 spots in the batting order. You can't skip over anybody. You can't pass anybody. You can't pinch hit for somebody. Mike Trout can't bat in a 7-hole one inning. He's got to take advantage of his at bats, and his team just hasn't ever helped him out. Even when Ohtani was there, they were never hot at the same time. One was hot, one was cold, and vice versa. So, like I said, hopefully he can come back. I want to see him, finish out the season without any more injuries. I want to see him play another full season of professional baseball without an injury before he has to hang him up. So hopefully, he gets healthy and he's able to come back and do that next season. But like I said, Mike Trout out for a little bit. No exact deadline of when he'll be returning. But Hack, let's jump over to the Phillies here. I mean, we got some Trey Turner injury news. He's batting .343 this season, killing it. 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, hitting out of that 2-hole in Philadelphia. His hamstring, he expects to be out at least 6 weeks. He says if he comes back before that, that would be a huge win. Tell me about the blow to the Phillies and Trey Turner. They're one of the hottest teams in baseball right now.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it and say it's not a big blow, but this is where I think them starting as hot as they did helps them. They added Whit Merrifield in the off. Now looks like an even bigger thing because he can play second and Stott can go to short. It's going to hurt them offensively, especially when I don't know if outsiders know as much as our lineup is a constant state of discussion in the area. Who should bat leadoff? Who should bat 2? Who should bat everywhere? We don't agree on anything except Rojas, the last batter in the lineup. And he was settling it this year as he made the lineup look good together. And we'll see how the Phillies adjust. I think, especially with the timetable, I was looking like, man, I wish the Phillies would have made a move that another team made this week. But 6 weeks from now, we would be stuck with a player that we don't have room for. So I think the Phillies have to weather this, and you hope when he comes back, he's as hot as he was before he left.
I think you said it perfectly. Like, you just got to hope that you guys can weather the storm. Who do you happen to know who is going to be playing more shortstop while he's out?
I would assume that Stott would slide over and not Sosa. The only 2 real options are, the only reason I would stop there is because he was a shortstop, and as well as Trey Turner has done offensively, his glove just has not been there for the Phillies for the last 2 years. So by putting Sosa there, you kind of protect the defensive side of things because nobody's ever going to clamor for the move. But if Stott is young, he plays a better, I don't know, I'm projecting here, but let's say he plays a better defensive shortstop than Trey Turner. Now, I know the local media in Philadelphia, and it'll be, we should move Trey Turner to second, or do we need him? It just gets, I think Sosa's the better, less distracting shortstop.
Well, hey, you heard it from a Phillies fan himself. That's who he thinks, and that's what he thinks should happen with Philadelphia for the next 6 weeks. Hopefully, Trey Turner comes back without, able to kind of continue that role he's been on. But we'll continue on, with Grayson Rodriguez. Huge blow to the Orioles. 15-day injured list with a right shoulder inflammation. He's been really hot this season. He's been 4 wins, 1 loss, ERA 3.71, 37 strikeouts, and 34 innings pitched. He's really been kind of one of the happy surprises in the Orioles starting rotation. you think this is a huge blow for them? I mean, they're calling up Mearns, who pitched really great. Was it yesterday or today that he pitched? He had a really good, solid start. Do you think this is going to be a bigger impact to the Orioles, or do you think this is not really too much to just to nod your head at?
I think it depends on if they're telling the truth. Unfortunately, with a lot of these pitchers' injuries, it's hard to tell in the first 72 hours sometimes it's hard to tell for the first week what's really going on. We know until we hit day 13, 14 of his IL stint. I think they can manage it because the Orioles have built a complete team that can hit. So they just need starters to get them to the 6th, 7th, and let's say hold it to 4 runs, That team has that luxury. One of the teams that does. But this is a blow. He's their number 2. And if it has lingering effects in the playoff where that really affects you.
Absolutely. So hopefully that 15-day injured list expectation, hopefully it actually stays to that 2 or 3 week window and doesn't proceed further on than that. And one more injury to talk about before we kind of talk about some rehab assignments. We got Nathan Eovaldi. He's also on the 15-day IL with a strained right groin injury, not shoulder or elbow related, which is great news. But he's been 2-2 this season. Not as hot of a start as he would like to be, but he's still got an ERA of 2.61, 44 strikeouts, still dominant as ever. Texas is just having some problems on the defensive side of things, as well as kind of bringing in runs when he is on the hill. That's going to be a huge blow to them, Eovaldi. Losing him this early in the season, especially with them this close to the Mariners in that West race. How do you think this impacts them?
This definitely impacts them, but it's the Rangers. If I'm Seattle, I'm just got these 4 names: DeGrom, Scherzer, Eovaldi, Tyler Mahle, all on the Rangers injured list, and 4 pitchers that when you insert those 4 into a pitching rotation, the Rangers need to figure out what's hurting their pitchers at such an alarming rate. But they're one of the few teams that if they can get everybody healthy, I forgot how potent that pitching staff was. It's been so long since we've seen what they envisioned and what their GM paid for actually on the field.
Yeah, I would imagine this would be the NBA equivalent of the Nets. How the Nets team last year all came together with Durant, Ben Simmons, and all them. If they'd actually played together and actually been able to put the ability on the court, what they could have been. I totally agree with you with that assessment. You have all the talent in the world. The problem is your talent can't stay healthy. So we kind of will see how that goes throughout the season as pitchers start to come back. Hopefully the late start to the season and lingering issues don't hurt them going into the season, because I would love to see the Rangers back in the postseason. See 2 teams out of the West and have one of them not be the Astros would be a huge win for baseball fans. Sorry, Houston. I hate to say that. But 2 pitchers that, speaking of injury and pitchers coming back from injury, 2 pitchers that we are highly touted, very, very high prospects on the season: Clayton Kershaw, Garrett Cole. Both threw bullpens for the first time this season since their injuries. Kershaw threw 15 pitches, all fastballs, earlier this week, and Cole threw off the mound yesterday for the first time. Both came off okay with great notes. Nothing is pushing back their returns. That's great news for the Dodgers and the Yankees, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think more so for the Yankees. I hope I'm wrong, because you remember I was hanging the drum that he will not be pitching, and it looks like I was wrong. And I'm happy I'm wrong, because I don't want to see somebody not pitch. He's a great pitcher. So the Yankees, to me, have been one of the surprises. I know you had them ranked a little higher than I did, but I didn't have them. I had them underachieving like most years, and they've looked good. And if you add Garrett Cole, a healthy Garrett Cole, to that rotation, it's going to be a great summer to watch the Yankees, the Rays, not the Yankees and the Orioles. I'm so used to the Rays being up there. It's not them. The Yankees and the Orioles banging it out. The Clayton Kershaw, I'd like to hear what you think about that, because I think my take is definitely not in the majority of this world.
Well, that the bigger impact is for the Yankees than the
Yeah,
Dodgers?
I just think that Clayton Kershaw is a non-factor.
Well, I agree.
Listen. I think he's one of the greatest regular season pitchers in history. He
Yeah.
can throw the heck out of, but if I hate that as like people that talk sports, people that cover sports, we will be selective on how we choose to implement our like rules. I'll give you an example, like Donovan McNabb for me. I love the man as a quarterback for the Eagles. But when I have this conversation with football fans, they tell me, what did he win? What as Clay like okay, he's great in the regular season for the Dodgers, but what are you coming back to get lit up in game 1 of LCS? I have to see you win games again because you've stunk in the postseason. You have a ring to spite yourself, not because of you, but you just happen to stay out of their way long enough to let them win. Again, I like him. He's a great guy for baseball. But like, if you take away the good guy part of it, okay, he's going to help the Dodgers win 100 games, and then what? He's going to be one of the reasons they lose in the first round, and there be an appointment again.
You know what? I'm a Giants fan, so I really kind of want to jump on the coattails of your opinions because that's how I feel. I hate the Dodgers. Clayton Kershaw, whenever he gets into the postseason, he pretty much does turn into a very average pitcher with his ERA. Besides 2020 season, his ERA is consistently over 4, over 5. Was it last season? His ERA for the postseason was 162 was his ERA. Which again, he got injured, so I can't really take that too seriously. But you're right, he does definitely fail when it comes to showing up in the playoffs. But these injuries upon injuries upon injuries, we always talk about pitchers getting hurt. We are going to take a moment, of course, to step aside from the generic injury talk. We are going to talk about the the conversation of Major League Baseball versus Major League Baseball Players Association. And the big heated debate is injuries on pitchers. Hack, I know that you've kind of very opinionated on this issue, and the main topic is this. I'll give some basic bullet points to kind of get everybody caught up. But the argument is Major League Baseball Players Association is arguing that the addition of the pitch clock is the reason for additional pitcher injuries. And Major League Baseball is counteracting that with saying that the amount of speed and the amount of rotation on the ball, the accelerated amount of speed and rotation on the ball that the pitchers of today now are using, that equals more injuries. Hack, what is your opinion on this? Where do you stand? Kind of just get into it. Let's start off with what you want to say.
First, let me say I think both of them are right. I think this is the sum is greater than the parts. And that's when these guys argue against each other. That if you take one thing, if you just want to talk about the pitch clock, you can probably say, oh, it didn't affect them. But I think the pitch clock mixed with the speed that people throw, mixed with the rotation, is the perfect storm of blowing out shoulders. One, we don't teach our kids anymore to pitch 100 pitches. When we were like, well, I'm a little bit older than you, but like even people of your generation, 100 pitches was not a crazy number of pitches. And now you get applauding 100 pitches when that used to be to me and watching my heroes growing up. That was the minimum. 100 pitches was what you were expected to be able to throw. That's one. Two, we've taken away the ability to pitch. Like, you can't pitch inside it used to be. A batter is allowed to go into the batter's box with knight's armor on, and they have no fear. So you're forced to throw it that fast because you can't back people off the plate. There's no fear of that anymore. And I'm not saying you should hit people with a baseball. So please don't misinterpret what I'm saying. But there's an art to pitching inside and setting up the outside pitches. And when you set up a pitch, you might not have to throw it 103 miles an hour. You might be able to throw it less. those are on that aspect. Now I'm going to go to like not my opinion, but things that I've researched from major leaguers. Tyler Glass now called him with the Rays the minute that they stopped allowing them to put the sticky substance on the baseball. You can tell me it's cheating. If that means you're not a baseball historian. People have been putting stuff on baseballs and cutting them since baseball was invented. By allowing them to use the sticky substance, they were able to spin a ball and throw less hard and be out there longer. So you take that too hard for the batters. Do it naturally. He said, I'm going to hurt myself. Garrett Cole has come out and said that the spin rate on the ball is not natural. Like the way pitchers are twerking their arms now to get that spin rate up, it's not natural. You got to slide elbow if you want. It's not natural in those ligaments there to throw, and our arms aren't meant for softball. They can throw all day long because our arms are meant for the underarm motion, not throwing a ball over here. And the speed, you're going to be able to attest to this one because you've watched the pitcher. Jordan Hicks, you came into the league throwing 105 miles an hour as a reliever for the Cardinals. He was oft injured and ineffective because his arm was always hurting. He went to the Giants this year. He's throwing softer, but he's winning games. He's now a starting pitcher, and he throws innings because he's taken the stress on. So is there a one thing that can be done to change it? No, because I believe it's a multitude of things. The argument that some people have is tell the pitchers to throw slower. The athletes are getting better. You can't throw in the 90s and expect like low 90s and expect to not have an ERA that's going to reflect that. So unless we change what we believe an acceptable ERA is, or change, I don't really know what you can do, but train the pitchers better. Like from a younger age, start making them throw more. But throwing less is not the answer. You can't throw 50 pitches on Monday and think that's going to get you ready to throw 100 pitches Friday. I don't believe that anyway. That's not the way I was brought up. And that's not the way the old school pitchers that have thousands of innings on their arms say is the right way.
Well, here's what I'm going to say about this. Is that obviously pitchers as they come up, they're going to want to throw harder. They're going to want to have the better break on their sliders, on their curveballs, on their slurves, or whatever pitches they're throwing. Because think about it, the last 4 American League Cy Young winners, Garrett Cole, Justin Verlander, Robbie Ray, and Shane Bieber, have all been or are currently on the injured list for something elbow related. Obviously, Shane Bieber being the most recent. So we are rewarding these pitchers who are having the highest spin rate, who are throwing the hardest, and they're getting these awards and these accolades that all these young kids who want to be pitchers, their dream is, if it's not to win the World Series, is to win the Cy Young and be that best pitcher in the league or your league. So as long as these winners who are getting hurt the most are having this much success, it's going to be a problem. MLB is conducting a wide range study among multiple levels of baseball right now. It's expected to conclude at the end of the year, so we'll see what that kind of brings up. But like I said, the Players Association believes that the pitch clock is the reason for this injury, or the rise in injuries. What they're saying is that the pitch clock is allowing rest recovery time between repetition, and the more fatigued that your ligaments are, the bigger the injury. There's a guy who is James Andrews. He is a orthopedic surgeon. He's been retired. He was back 10, 15 years ago. He was one of the main surgeons contracted with Major League Baseball. And he said 10 years ago that the increase of Tommy John surgeries was already an epidemic. And that was 10 years ago, before the pitch clock ever became a thing. So that's what, for me, I think it's the progression of uh, the progression of the game itself, the progression of better how to get better spin rate, how to get better arm speed. This the mechanics itself are improving. The workouts to increase your speed and power at a younger age are increasing and becoming more and more available. Especially with travel ball being such being such a huge thing. Kids are playing little league Monday through Friday, and then travel ball on the weekends. They're pitching multiple games. Like you said, 100 pitches is nothing. But here's the thing: parents are still throwing their kids during little league as a warm up, 50, 60 pitches, and then Saturday they're throwing in a tournament another 50, 60 pitches. When we were kids, it didn't bother us, but the amount that kids are playing year round now. I mean, there's so much that can go into what's causing these injuries. I think it kind of like you said. I think it's kind of a perfect balance of both, as well as the progression of the human body. Like I said, the same guy, James Andrews, that we were talking about, he said that the ulnar collateral ligament, which is what's being injured the most in pitchers, and I actually have a diagram of it. I'll bring it up right now just so you can kind of know what I'm talking about. The posterior bundle, the intermediate bundle, and the anterior bundle. That's all part of the ulnar collateral ligament. That's what's getting injured in these pitchers in pitchers with high spin rate and high pitch speed. What it says is these ligaments do not mature fully into the age of 25. And while you're in your high school years, they're not really made to support anything over 80 miles per hour. The kids these days, if they can throw 90, it's going to get them that college scholarship, right? They're going to be throwing 90 if they can throw 90. So these kids are progressing way faster than they used to. And I think that's ultimately kind of causing the ligaments to weaken before they're fully developed, which is causing the injuries in pitchers now. Whew, man, that was a lot to get out. But I think I kind of said how I feel. I think it's kind of a combination of everything, just like you said. But like I said, Tommy John surgeries and elbow issues were an epidemic 10 years ago. So I'm not really going to put too much blame on the pitch clock. I think it's an easy thing to kind of point at and be like, haha, found it. I know exactly what it is. But this has been an issue for a while now.
The pitch clock's the easiest thing to fix immediately. So
Yeah.
I understand the play association going after the one thing, because you can't tell a pitcher how fast they're going to throw. That's just not. It's not. What are you going to do? Make it illegal if you hit an hour ball? So you can't control the speed, but you can't control necessarily what spin I put on the ball. So the only thing I'm torn here, because the pitch clock has made baseball much more watchable for the average person.
True.
It's much easier, 2 hours to 2.5 hours. You've taken it to a football type of game instead of a 4 hour for some snooze. So I understand that. But if you're losing your stars, then what? Nobody wants minor leaguers pitch. We want to see the Biebers and those type of players. So to me, if there has to be a halfway. I think if you're going to keep the pitch clock, you need to start running a pitch clock in college. You need to start running a pitch clock maybe in high school, but you need to pick a level and get people used to pitching every 30 seconds or whatever. And, you can extend it just like a shot clock in basketball. You get less time as you move up levels. But, you got to retrain kids if this is what you're going to do. Because Dr. Andrews said you're not meant to throw over 80 in high school. No, you're not getting a scholarship if you're throwing 80. You're not a pitcher, because that's not a speed that a high school pitcher. You were a high school pitcher. You threw harder than 80. It would have been tough for you. I'm not a pitcher, so you can attest to this. How hard would it have been for you to have a successful high school career, topping out at 80 miles an hour?
Yeah, I mean, there were kids that didn't throw 80 miles an hour, and those teams finished with one win on the season because they didn't have the arm strength and the talent to kind of keep up with everybody. So you're right. Unless you had those hard throwers, you weren't really competing. You weren't winning games, and you found that out at a young age, that the harder throwing teams at a younger age especially are the teams that win, because the kids, they're young, they're scared to be in the box, they're way away from the plate. They're kind of swinging at everything just to kind of end the at bat. So it's just kind of speed kind of kills when you're a kid. And as you get older, you kind of have that same mindset, except for you just want to get faster and faster with that speedometer.
I will wrap it up because we could talk about this for hours. I could talk about this for hours. Like
I know we
I was
can.
talking to our social media guy, Petey, and I told him my dream interview is Trevor Bauer, and not because of what he's done, but he's done a lot of studies on pitching, spin rates. There's a blind. There's a lot. He learned. It's a shame he got blackballed, but like I'm gonna shift off of him because I'm gonna bring up somebody else, and they're gonna be like, "That's an insult to put same breath." Greg Maddux didn't have to throw hard. We've lost the art of pitching. There isn't really, if we do this podcast, and I watch a lot of baseball. I might be hard pressed. Go sit in a room, pen and paper, write me down 30 pitchers, not guys that can throw the ball by you, but like pitchers that know how to paint corners and set up their pitches. We don't like in high school. You're right. Like from college level, from all these coming up, you're not taught to pitch anymore. And you throw. Sweet. This kid hits the triple digits. It don't matter where you throw it, my man. Just throw it in the strike zone. They can't hit it. If you forget everything else we've talked about, if we could just get back some old school pitching coaches that teach location is greater than the speed it's coming in. Where's the Jamie Moore of the world? There isn't that guy that just knows how to pitch anymore in baseball. It's all, hey, kid, go out back and get your arm up to 100. And if you can't, go learn to play second or a positional thing. And as you said, if I've been throwing 100 since college, and now you're 28, odds are against you to have a healthy shoulder. Like it's going to probably at some point snap or elbow or something in your throwing arm is going to mess up. And with all our talk, I really don't know how to fix that other than learn to pitch. We have to start over. It's almost like not to cross over sports, but it's like in football. We said the way I'm old, guys. So the way I was taught to tackle is no longer an acceptable tackle. It's a dirty hit. You had to go back from youth and reteach kids. This is how we're going to hit now on. So like, I'm glad MLB is researching it at all levels because it's going to be, we're going to have to shift it from a young age and stick with it for generations to fix where we're at now.
And absolutely, and we're gonna obviously talk about this as the season goes on, as more injuries come up, as the research kind of reveals some more insider information and kind of what they're going to do to counterbalance it. I don't expect any changes this season to the pitch clock or the pitching rules to kind of decrease injury, but crazier things have happened. We're going to continue rolling. Next up, we got our world famous 3 up, 3 down teams that are on the incline, teams that are down on the dumps. And as always, we do start with our 3 teams that are down and out right now. And first off, we're going to start with the Cincinnati Reds. Started off the season as hot as they did. Currently 16-17 on the season. Losers of 4 in a row. 3-7 over their last 10. Only scored 3 runs so far in the month of May. Hack, what's going on with the Reds? Ellie De La Cruz is distracting us with all of his glitz and glamour, but the Reds are on the downward spiral. What's going on?
Young team. I'm not going to make 1,000 excuses for my NL Central winner that I picked. I think youth and learning to be consistent might be the hardest thing in any sport. And like you get your highs, you get your lows, especially in baseball. One of the things my coaches used to always tell me is that's why it's called your average. Because like when you're hot, you're hot. When you're cold, you're cold. Don't forget, you're always going to revert somehow back to your average. The Reds have to learn that. And they also need to learn which one of these young players are their average is good. Because sometimes we see a good 1 year, 2 years, and then they get cold, and they're not the guy you thought they were. I think the Reds are fine. I think this week, the month for them has been a rough month. The last couple weeks haven't been so great, but they're a team that can get real excited and ride that wave almost like a team we're going to talk to in the up section. So I'm just going to hope that time does them well, fixes the ship.
I mean, yeah, they scored 152 runs this season. They know how to put runs on the board with Elly De La Cruz. Anytime he's on the base path, he's an instant game changer. So, yeah, I don't think the Reds are going to be on this list too many times this season. But like I said, 4.5 games out in the Central. Hopefully, able to turn it around before that hole gets any deeper. But coming up after being swept this most recent series, the Reds, they are going to come up against the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are also on a downward trend. The Diamondbacks this week 14-20 overall. They've lost 3 in a row. They did end up winning today, but before today they lost 3 in a row. 3-7 in the last 10. Offense before today only scored 3 runs over the first 3 games of May, and they've allowed 28 runs before today as well. Defense, terrible. Pitching, terrible. Offense, terrible. All 3 things not going well for the Diamondbacks right now. I do expect them to turn it around, but Hacker, do you see anything that's really jumping out at you about the Diamondbacks?
I mean, Corbin Carroll's had a really, really rough start to this year. The pitching staff has been a little down, a little hurt. I think when they get everybody back, they'll be right. This could just be, and this is another team I'm fairly sure. Yes, I had them making the playoffs. I had them with a rematch with the Phillies in the first round. This might just be the World Series hangover. This happens to teams sometimes. I thought they could avoid it because they were young. Like that a lot of times happens to an older team that played more games, because we don't, especially on the pitching staff, we discount that a lot. A long run through the playoffs means you're extra 8 games in that year when I was resting on vacation. So I agree with you. I think maybe give them a month. They might heat back up. The problem for them is the Dodgers, and we're going to talk about one of the teams coming up in the up list. Like, they're not in a division that is going to do you favors by stinking. They have a lot of competition in that division.
Yeah, they absolutely do. I mean, you know that you're not having a great season when the best ERA of your starting pitchers is 4.61. That's not where you want your starting pitcher's ERA to be. Maybe like your 4th or 5th starter over 4, but your best ERA 4.61, which is who is that? That's Brandon Pfaadt. Currently has the 4.61 ERA. Zach Gallen is going to be coming back, obviously, after he tweaked his knee or his ankle or something. He'll be coming back this week as well, making his next start. So that's something to be excited about for our Diamondbacks. But they are not sitting pretty. Sitting right now in second to last in the West, 7.5 games back of the Dodgers. Like I said, their offense, they're still +7 run differential in the season. So their offense, like I said, we know what they can do. They just put up 15 runs last week. So we know that they can turn it on when they need to. Hopefully they turn it around soon. And first, the team that's our number 1 team on the down and out list is a team that really cemented themselves in this position when they traded one of their best players away. That's the Miami Marlins. Right now, they are 4-6 10, 9-26 overall. They have a negative 77 run differential, means they've allowed 77 more runs than they've scored this season. They were swept by Colorado, and they lost yesterday 20-4 to Oakland. I don't know. I mean, yesterday was a bad day for them. They lost Luis Ariz to the Padres, and they lost 20-4 to the Oakland Athletics. Talk to me, Hack.
I mean, it's sad when we're in. I guess they made that trade. May 3rd is when they traded Arias. It's either the 3rd or the 4th that they traded him, but I think he made his debut on the 4th.
Yeah, made his debut yesterday. Yep.
So by May 3rd, you have a GM and owner basically saying, we know. In fact, they said we're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, I saw that. The likelihood of us making the playoffs is not likely.
I'll say I'm glad that you did a player on your team who deserves better than to waste his talent in Miami. So I'm glad that you shipped him away. But Miami's one of the teams. It bothers me that they've won as many World Series as they have. Because when I say that they should be disbanded, their history is better than some of the teams that have legacies. But
true.
This is one of the reasons why I think baseball be not expansion, but contraction. Because it's May. It's too as I mean, I'm a Philly. You're a Giants fan. Imagine either one of those franchises telling you on Thursday we're already out of the playoffs, so we're just gonna gut this team. That's
Yeah.
should be you're number one on my down list next week too, just on general principle because of that that comment. It's sad. It's sad.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen teams like the Twins who were completely down and out, run off 12 games in a row and get right back in the race of things. Miami's literally going to be getting two of their starters back later in the season. They definitely are starting pitchers back later in the season. They have a huge opportunity ahead of themselves to kind of make this season salvageable and push for a wild card spot. And they're giving away arguably their best hitter, and which is actually this is the perfect segue into our up and in, teams that are up and in right now. And we're actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and start with the Padres. Let's talk about Luis Arraez and his in the trade. He made his debut with the Padres yesterday. Went 4 for 6, had 4 hits in his first 4 at bats, 1 double, scoring 2 runs and having an RBI in the leadoff spot. What a debut! First time someone's ever had 4 hits in a team debut in history. I believe I read earlier. Heck, that's a crazy start to a team tenure.
I mean, it's a crazy start, but I don't know if our listeners have, because this man has languished in Miami. So I don't know if you know about this guy, but that's only a crazy start to people that ain't watch him. Like,
True.
Hello world, welcome to Luis Arraez. This is what this man does. He wakes up and hits. Is he gonna hit for power? No, but you pitch, you throw the ball, he hits it. It's the Padres did. I love this trade. And again, I said they would be sellers. Oh, they shut me up May 3rd. No, we're all in to go with the Dodgers. And this secured their, I mean, you got Bogaerts, Cronenworth, Kim. Now you got Arias in that infield, Machado. You got Tatis. Like, you're starting to build an offense there that, like, they might not have the top 3 star power that the Dodgers have, but we got a hitter, Jackson Proffer, we're going to talk about later. Like, look, this team is they're
Dude,
building something. They're building
let's just say
something.
the Padres are dripping in swag right now. Like, I mean, like do you guys remember? I mean, obviously, if you are a baseball fan, you remember this cringe video. But I wonder what the Padres fans who made that singing video against the Phillies in the playoffs. That's what's in. Like, this is something to be excited about. This is something worth singing. Those guys hopefully never go viral again. Those were terrible. But no, this guy is an amazing hitter. You're right. If you haven't seen him play in Miami, first off, shame on you because you're missing some great baseball, a great swing. He's probably the closest. This generation's Tony Gwynn is what he's being compared to. And his statistics compared right side by side are damn near like spot on. He's a career 325 hitter. That's right, career 325 hitter. He's only hit under 300 2 times in his career. He was batting 299 with Miami this season. Now that he's part of the Padres, he's batting 311, so already over that 300 mark. But his lowest batting average of his career was 294 in 2021. This dude is a guaranteed hitter. His over-under on total bases is 2.5 every game guaranteed because of how often he's on base. It's a huge win for the Padres, and that is why the Padres are currently on our number 3 spot. Didn't have the best week of some of the teams that did not make the list. Like Hack wants to shout out to the Phillies, who had another great week, who just keep on winning. But this move put San Diego for me on this list because of the addition of Luis Arraez, who's really going to put them, like, I would say, just under the Dodgers' potency as far as offensively. So I think that trade is the reason I added them to this list this week, Hack. Hopefully you won't argue with me too much on that one. But like I said, they've lost 1 in a row. They won the last 4. Offense is sparking up. Pitching is coming in strong. Anything you want to say about the Padres? I mean, we kind of just covered a lot of stuff. Anything else you kind of want to throw in?
I see them settle in full week with Arraez.
Yeah, let me see. Who do they got this week? The Padres are playing, let's see. I know that they haven't had a home game with him there yet, so that'll be nice to get him in front of the home fans. Looks like they're going to Chicago against the hot Chicago Cubs, and then they're finally going home next weekend for a series against the Dodgers That'll be one to tune in for, and we'll
That's
definitely
the
talk about
one.
that series. And that's his
They
first
also
series at
looked at
home.
Justin Steele in Chicago. We didn't
Yeah,
talk
he's
about
coming back
him.
too.
I don't
Yeah,
want to steal the Padres spotlight, but
no.
Steele's
That's
coming. So.
honestly, yeah, he's coming Monday. I heard he's supposed to make his start
I
Monday.
think he's going to debut against re-debut against the Padres.
Re-debut.
So
that'll be a good matchup.
That's going to be a good game, good matchup. Padres picked a good time to add some hitters going into Wrigley.
Absolutely. I'm a little upset, though. We don't get to see a Darvish versus Imanaga showdown. Musgrove and Imanaga, who's, if you've watched the show before, you know I'm super high on Shota Imanaga this season, being one of the best pitchers in baseball. I feel like I talk away him every chance I can. I was much higher on him than it was Yamamoto in the preseason, so I'm glad that he's showing early season success. 0.78 ERA. I'll just throw that out there. But we'll continue. We talked about our main man, Luis Arraez, and the Padres. Next up on our list of teams on the up and up are going to be, excuse me, I actually forgot who was number 2. Oh yeah, the Minnesota Twins. Unfortunately, they did lose today, snapping their 12-game win streak, but they're 19-14 right now on the season, coming down from a huge hole that they put themselves in to start the season. Like I said, snap their 12-game win streak today versus Boston. It's crazy because the 2 longest winning streaks on the season are the Royals and the Twins coming out of the AL Central. I did not expect to see that. Heck, these Twins have made this up and up list 2 weeks in a row. I know you thought the Phillies, again, deserved this spot, but the Twins, 12-game win streak, you can't argue with me on this one either.
Last week, you had the Twins at 2 and told me, and then they almost didn't lose all the way to another list and another week at number 2. So I don't know. I think you're cooking with the Twins. You put them at number 2, and they're like, all right, Eye Black, watch this. We're gonna get that number 1 spot eventually. It's like, you know what? If they put the Eye Black on the sausage, they might make number 1 on Eye Black's up and in list.
It's possible. It's a thing.
Like, and for those, make this happen, and you get number 1 on the list next week. Just one little slash of Eye Black on the sausage.
Somebody tag the Minnesota Twins. Let them know they need to put Eye Black on the sausage. Now, for those of you that do not know, this is actually a subject we're going to talk about really quickly. They have a home run sausage. So kind of like if you watch college football when the defensive back gets like an interception or something, they'll get like a big old chain or something fun to hang around. Or like I don't think they do it this year, but the Angels last year. So the Twins this year are putting around this big old nasty summer sausage that's sitting in the middle of the screen. I'm not sure if you can see that, but they've had the same sausage all year. It's a summer sausage, so I've been told it's in some sort of a casing, which makes it packaged sausage is what they're saying. It's they're saying that because of the sausage, the match is why they were able to win 12 games in a row. Hack, is this absolute craziness? Or is this just baseball superstition at its finest?
I mean, this is baseball superstition at its finest. I love it. Like, baseball has the craziest, just most nonsensical traditions. And this is just one of those ones. Like, it's amazing to me that it's them and not the Brewers. So that's the craziest part of this story, is that there's a team that have sausages run around their outfield, and they're not the team with the home run sausage.
Dude, I never thought about that. That's great. But no, I think it's gross. I mean, like, you got fans holding sausages in the stands for good luck. I'm pretty sure they're selling good luck sausages. They got merchandise for the sausage. I mean, there's no way this sausage lasts all season long. There's no way this sausage lasts to the All-Star break. But hey, you're winning 12 games in a row. Like I said, I never stepped on a baseline when, coming into pitch. So I get superstition, but this is a bit crazy to me. But I digress. It's working. So as long as it's working, why not? I mean, shoot, the Cleveland Indians in Major League, they were taking off pieces of the clothing off of the cardboard cutout, and that worked for them. So I mean, who am I to say this is crazy?
That's a beautiful transition.
Let me see. And we got one more team. I know, right? But we have a perfect ending. perfect ending to our up and up list. We have the Oakland Athletics, the Oakland A's. That's right, in the number one spot. You'll probably never see them here again, but I have been wrong before. Don't tell anybody that. I will never admit that I said that. But the A's sitting at 17-17. They did lose today, so make that 17-18. But before today, they won 6 in a row, 8-2 over their last 10. They smashed the Marlins yesterday, 20-4. Anytime you score 20 runs against a Major League Baseball team, that's something to write home about. Here's a crazy stat for you, Hack. Team ERA for the A's is 3.75. I mean, this is absolutely insane. The back end of their bullpen is shutting things down. Lucas Erceg, 7 holds, 1.93 ERA, handing it off to Mason Miller to close the door with 8 saves, 1.26 ERA at 103 mile per hour fastball coming at you. You're a closet A's fan, so this has got to get you a little bit excited. It's unfortunate no one's in the stands to watch them win.
Well, I said it was a great transition because just like Major League, a bad owner that hates the team and the team hates him. Only in Major League, it was a woman. But in my head, I picture them having that old guy just like, and they just keep taking a piece off of his old butt every win they get. And they just keep winning. It's like we have their offense. I know you're going to discuss their pitching, which deserves a world of credit. But Brett Rooker has come out and shown last season wasn't a fluke. 6 home runs, 15 RBIs. He's batting 300. They have Bleday, the center fielder's batting 308. He's got 9 RBIs and 3 home runs. Their outfield is produced for this team. And there's nobody, like I have their stats in front of me. Nobody pops off the page. They're doing it as a team. And I feel like even in the 20 runs, when you score 20 runs, you expect to hear like player A had this great game. And there was none of that. It was just a total, when they hit, they all hit together. It's like I said, it's very reminiscent to me of the movie Major League, because in that movie, like the players on that team were nobody, a bunch of just either never wers or nobody wanted them anymore. And they showed up together and ignored the outside world. And I love that I don't believe they're going to finish over 500, but if they can get close to 500 with the conditions they're in, it's a good, like, it stinks because you're doing it in Oakland and it's not going to translate to the goodwill, but I love to see it. This has been the bet to me. This is one of the best stories in baseball this year, what they're doing.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love what the A's are doing. It's they're no longer a pushover team for any team going into the Coliseum or them walking into a stadium. It's not a 3-game sweep anymore. They're doing it with a lot of unknown names. They're doing it very Moneyball style. You compare it to Major League, I'm thinking Moneyball. All these unknown players that are just finding a way to win together. These unknown names that are kind of like Mason Miller, who's pumping at 103. He's going to be a household name before the end of the season. And I wouldn't be surprised if he signed a big contract somewhere soon as well. But yeah, I mean, it's good to see the A's win. When the A's are competitive, it's good for baseball. It's nice to see teams kind of like when the Pirates are hot, the early on parts of the season. It's good to see teams that don't traditionally win have success, because it shows, it's just good for fans. It's good for baseball, getting people invested and interested.
They don't traditionally win in the new age, but I think that's what the problem is, especially with like longtime Oakland A's fans. The Oakland A's don't have a trash history. Like before Reggie was on the Yankees, he was an Oakland A. Ricky Henderson has played for the Oakland A's and won World Series there. Dennis Eckersley, Dave Stewart, like
McGuire, Canseco, Giambi.
They have a history where they won World Series and were once considered like one of the franchises of the American leagues. Right now, they're leaving a stadium that's named after Ricky Henderson. Like this team is loved in the city of Oakland and has a winning tradition. And this owner has just That's why I'm glad. To speak something positive about it, we'll talk about that pitcher you were talking about, Miller. I hope more teams follow this because the A's knew they were going to. I said this last week. I don't know if people missed it or if you did. If you heard it, hear it again. They put him innings restriction. Decided the best way to use his 75 innings this year were out of the bullpen, and this man's going to be the all-star. Him and Holmes are going right now for best closer in the AL. And it's amazing that we're discussing the Oakland A's closer as one of the best in the game. And it's all because they thought outside of the box of a way to bring this young, exciting kid up and give him meaningful innings. I hope more teams don't turn starters into relievers, but there's ways. If you're willing to think outside the box, use some money ball, you can get these kids up here and get them major league experience. And, we talked about it last week. He was in there with the Yankees, shutting them down. That's real experience, not AAA. Yeah, I struck out some guy that's never making it to the majors.
Yeah, no, and there's a couple other players I'm sure that you're referring to when you talk about that. You just want to get Paul Skeens up into the pros, and I get it. I'm on your side right now. We're gonna keep moving on. We are doing a fantastic. We're only 7 minutes over. We had our hot topic debate. So we only got a couple things to talk about left, and then we'll go from there. But we're gonna jump into players of the week, and we're gonna start off with first and foremost our starting pitcher of the week, Mr. Jon Gray out of the Texas Rangers. 8 innings pitched, 3 hits, all singles, 1 run allowed, and 3 strikeouts. Look at me. I didn't add who it was against, and that's not really important because he dominated in every facet of the game. Like I say, he's not really throwing his strikeout stuff that I've seen him from previous seasons, but 8 innings pitched, his most solid start of the season, getting his first win. He's sitting at 1-2 on the year. Hopefully, do you think this is a turning point for Jon Gray, or do you think this is just kind of a good outing, and we kind of can expect him to kind of go back to getting shelled again next week?
I think every time a good pitcher has a good start, I want to say it's their turning point because you never know what's going to be the start. I think it has to be for him with Eovaldi going down. Scherzer's last rehab start got scratched due to thumb. Now they say it's not going to affect it too much, his return, but that's what we've heard coach speak for years with Scherzer. They need Jon Gray to stabilize this rotation until everybody can get healthy. And last year, I think he showed he can do it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this was his first win of the season. I think this was the first outing I think I watched him throw pitch where he wasn't trying to dominate the strike zone and dominate every hitter. Like I said, his 3 strikeouts, normally he's sitting around 5, 6, maybe sometimes even above that 7 or 8. He's even had as many as 9 strikeouts early in the season. He really tries to dominate the pitchers or the batters in the box. But this last game against the Nationals, who he pitched against, he really didn't try to do that. He placed his pitches better, worked the outside corners, worked the inside, had good break on his breaking ball stuff, had a lot of ground ball outs, which I think is the way Jon Gray needs to pitch going forward. I almost called him John as if we were best friends. I think going forward, he needs to spot his pitches more, ease back on that on the velocity. Just spot up, baby. Like I said, this exact outing shows you what you can do when you spot your pitches. So hopefully you continue to do that. But Jon Gray, great outing this week. He said 8 innings pitched against the Nationals, 3 hits, 1 run, 3 strikeouts. Great outing. Let's see if you. Yeah,
I think with him, and we were talking about the Rangers, and earlier in the show we were talking about Arizona. These are 2 pitching staffs. Like Jon Gray coming into last year was a good pitcher, but like nobody was like, this guy's an ace of the staff. And he went through the postseason last year because of who they were missing. Him and Eovaldi were the de facto aces. They were going 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 throughout. They won the World Series, but these guys pitched a lot of innings last year. Eovaldi's down. Gray started slow. Gallen starting slow. Kelly's hurt for Arizona. A lot of these guys that don't expect to go deep into years, I think we see the following year they're starting slow. So I think Jon Gray just might be finally healthy. And I know it's crazy to say you're rested a month into the season, but he finally got his legs under him from last year. It's special that some of these teams have pitchers that pitch in the post, and I think you have to learn that. And I think he's finally, like I said, his stamina's back. This start showed his stamina was. He went 8 innings and he didn't. After the 7th, he wasn't laboring through them.
No, I think he could have finished out the game, but I think again with it being it was 7-1. There's no need to push it. There's no need to kind of risk injury. I think taking him out in the 9th inning was the right move. Again, he earned starting pitcher of the week. So cheers to him. Cue clapping sound effects. But next up, we got relief pitcher of the week. We're going with Mr. Clay Holmes of the New York Yankees. This week, he appeared in 3 games, pitching 3.1 innings pitched this week, 6 strikeouts, only allowing 2 hits, no walks. He had 2 saves this week. He appeared again in games against the Orioles and the Tigers, both no slouches, averaged 2 strikeouts per outing against each of the 3 of those teams. I mean, he's tied with the lead league in saves at 11. Clay Holmes, not a name I expected to ever say on this show, but he's absolutely showing what he's got, and he's kind of earning that spot in the Yankees back end of the bullpen.
See, I think this has been Clay Holmes for about 2-3 years now. The Yankees normally would say he's going to be their closer, and then they flirt around. Am I closer, or is he the reliever that pitches in the most high leverage situation, whether that's 7th, 8th, 9th, it doesn't matter. This year, he's the best reliever in baseball this year. I know we're only, a month into the season, 2 months into the season, but he has been dominant on that mound for the Yankees. When you see him come in, the game's over. And until he messes up, I don't see anybody missing him on my list of closers right now, because the Yankees win. He's got the 11 saves. He doesn't give up runs, and he's not giving up hits.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I want the A's to kind of stay relevant, is because I would love Mason Miller to be in that conversation where his saves are actually meaningful. Like Clay Holmes, every save he gets, it's helping the Yankees get closer to that number 1 spot. So I would like I said, I want the A's to stay competitive so that Mason Miller gets the same kind of recognition that Clay Holmes is getting from you. So hopefully, like I said, they're both sitting at 11 saves right now. We'll see who kind of ends up as a saves king this season. But Clay Holmes definitely has some great legs underneath him to start the season. So we'll see how he progresses. We're going to finish up this episode, though. We've got 2 topics left. One, we go with offensive player of the week. Drum roll. And here it is, Mr. Jurickson Profar. Will Smith lit a fire under this kid's butt. Are you going to go on to the next slide, please? Thank you. Lit an absolute fire under this kid's butt, saying that he didn't matter, that we wouldn't try to hit him because he's nothing on that team. But this week alone, batting .565 average, on base percentage .652. He's hit 2 home runs. He has 5 RBIs and scored 6 runs this week alone. He was asked to step in for Juan Soto and kind of put up the production Juan Soto did. And so far this season, he's done a pretty dang good job helping out that offense. Hack, what's your opinion on Jurickson's Profar's week and season so far?
I mean, to me, this is him at his best. I mean, he is what's the word I want to use? He's like a Swiss Army knife type of player. Can do a little bit of everything. Nothing great, but a lot of things above average. And I think this week he filled out his category. Like, he filled his bingo card this week and showed what he can do when motivated. And for the Padres, I mean, you said Will Smith, nothing motivates them like a little Dodger hate. So
true that.
We'll see. Hopefully he keeps this going. The Padres made it to the hot team list off of his hitting and a trade. And hopefully for their sake, he can keep it up. Like, he has stepped in admirably for Juan Soto. I won't say he's filled Soto's shoes, but that's
which you can.
Yeah, you can't. But the fact that if Soto's a size 14 and Profar's wearing a size 12 right now, you're close. Yeah, real close.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's a good thing that his offense is producing the way it is this season. This is his best season by far. His best average season coming into the season was 297 last year. He's hitting over 300 so far this season. He's hitting in the 5 hole on a very potent Padres offense, which now has Luis Arias, Fernando Tatis Jr., Jake Cronenworth, Manny Machado, and then you got Jurickson Profar, followed by Xander Bogaerts. This lineup can be absolutely nasty, especially if 3 of them are on at the same time, 4 of them are on at the same time. God forbid all of them are on. This team's going to get nasty. They just scored 13 runs against the Dodgers yesterday, or not the Dodgers, sorry, the Diamondbacks yesterday to win 13-1. I mean, this offense is scary. This may be a team that the Dodgers might want to worry about going into the season or going into further in the season. I mean, do you think this is probably their biggest contender in the NL?
In the
In the
West,
West, yes.
right now, this is their biggest contender. And I would agree with you that Profar has the biggest pressure because when you name that batting lineup to me, he's the one. Look,
Yeah.
they're not going. Arias is going to be right. All right. Tatis and Machado are the stars. Cronenworth has been on that team for a while and they know what they're getting. You're the one, and Bogaerts behind you. Generally, you know Xander Bogaerts is going to give you a major league season in that batter's box. If you're cold, you're the one that they're going to blame because you're where Soto. Well, Soto wouldn't have been batting 5, but
Right.
you're taking Soto's spot. So like I said, Soto had pressure, immense pressure, and you've risen and met it. So I hope he continues because, again, I don't want to hate players. Like, I don't want to have any hate till the postseason when I got to hate that you're playing the Phillies. But until then, I want to celebrate these guys. I think it makes baseball better when people like offense. Chicks dig the long ball. Let's get the offense going. And he's done it great this year.
Yeah, it's crazy to just think about the talent in the NL West. Like, you could make an all-star team out of just NL West teams to go against the rest of Major League Baseball's best, and you would have a damn good game. I mean, that NL West is stacked, especially with the addition of Luis Arias to the Padres, obviously Ohtani. I mean, can the division get any better than that? I mean, the NL East, the AL East, and the NL West have got to be the best 3 divisions they've been in years, I would say.
The money, we see where baseball's king. I know that I don't want to discount like cities like St. Louis out in the Midwest that they love baseball, but you're also a Midwest team. You can only generate but so much money compared to the East and West Coast teams. And yeah, the talent that's where people end up. I like it because my team's one of the halves. But I can also see how it's not always great because you name 3 divisions where you're right. You could make an all-star team from the NL West to face the NL East All-Stars, but nobody would say the NL Central could even smell that. Like, if you the other 3 divisions would all need to combine to put a 4th all-star team in that race. And the East, the West, the 2 East and the 1 West. It's weird that the AL West, it doesn't translate like that.
Actually, heck, this is a funny thing. We should do this next week. We should make an all-star team from each division.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll take the AL.
All right. I'll take the NL teams, and then we'll make the all-star teams and kind of see who kind of makes the best team. We'll do that next week. But, folks, we do appreciate you kind of tuning in to Up and In every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. at Pacific Standard. We do try to keep this episodes to an hour. This week went a little bit over. We had a little bit more to talk about. But as always, we do appreciate you guys hanging out. We're going to end this show like we always do with about a minute and a half video of highlights with some music to it. Hack, you got anything you want to say to the beautiful people at home before we kind of get them out and on with their life?
I mean, have a great week. It's going to be a great week coming up in baseball. And Friday night, Dodgers, Padres in them City Connects. I know people think they're ugly, but when they be wearing them chains and the glasses, swag on 100. So watch Arias lead off, check out this game, and enjoy some baseball this week.
Speaking of, next week we'll have to talk about the Rays' new City Connect jerseys. They may be one of my top 3 favorites, so we'll talk about those next week as well.
They are nice. Nice.
Yes, and we'll talk about those. We'll go ahead and we'll pull up the best City Connect jerseys next week too, and Hack and I will each pick our top 3 favorites, and we'll do that as well next week. Again, thanks for joining in. We'll see y'all next week. Enjoy the highlights, and we'll talk to y'all later.
See y'all.
No. Well, I'm gonna do it anyway.
I ain't been through a whole lot. Trial, tribulation, but I know God. Satan wanna put me in a bow tie. Pray that the holy water don't go dry. Yeah. As I look around me, so many motherfuckers wanna down me. But they gon' never tell me. In front of a dirty double mirror, they found me. And I love myself. The world is a ghetto with big guns and dick inside. I love myself. But they can do what they want whenever they want. I don't mind. I love myself. We said I gotta get up next. I'm gonna suicide. I love myself. One day at a time. Sun go shine. Everybody looking at you crazy. What you gonna do? Lift up your head and keep moving. Or let the paranoia haunt you. Peace to fashion police. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Let the runway start. You know the miserable do love company. What do you want from me? Am I scarred?